Guess the Spread NFL Week 2 edition. You know how it works. Got them covered up on the iPad here on the Pickett app. Let's start Buffalo at Miami. The question is, Josh Allen's left hand banged up. They say he's fine. I'm going to say he's going to play because it's the non-throwing hand. So in terms of guessing here, I got Josh Allen playing. Both teams coming off wins. Miami, I would say that they're going to be about a 1.5 better than Buffalo on a neutral field. They're better favorites to win the division. Off the top of my head, I got to assume they had a higher win total. So yeah, Miami, a little bit better on a neutral field, about a point for home field or so here. It is tough though, Buffalo going south early in the season. I know, people, home field is not 3 points. This isn't 2004, okay? Google it. No one has home field as being 3 points unless it's extreme circumstances. So I don't think this thing is going to get to 3 here, at least in the opener. So I'm going to call it Miami minus 2.5. Answer. Miami minus 2. Okay, moving on. Indianapolis at Green Bay. This is difficult because Jordan Love is expected to miss some time. Indy, close one against Houston. Oh, nearly pulled it off. They were 3-point home dogs to Houston there. Green Bay, obviously the loss. And now, I think the first way you got to go about this is what's the spread if Jordan Love was playing? And then what's the adjustment without Jordan Love? I'd say Jordan Love is going to be about worth 6 to 8 points. And it's really not just how good Jordan Love is. It's a difference between the starter and the backup. And the backup being Malik Willis, at least as it seems, that's a pretty big difference. Again, so I say that's about a 6 to 8 point difference between those two fellas. So with Jordan Love playing, I would say that Green Bay is about 2.5 points better, maybe 3. And then you add in the home field, gets it through the 3. I'd say it's Green Bay minus 3.5 with Jordan Love playing. So now we do that adjustment. Like I said, 6 to 8 points. But we're going through 3s, 0s here on both sides. So does it get through that 3 on the other side is my question. I'm going to say right on 3. So I'm going to go Indianapolis minus 3 at Green Bay. Answer. Indianapolis minus 3.5. Good math there. Guys, it's just math. All right. I'm just using what the week 1 line was and then adjust off of that. So Las Vegas at Baltimore. Las Vegas, they get run on. J.K. Dobbins, they were a 3-point dog at the Chargers, which is really no home field. A lot of Raiders fans down there in L.A. Baltimore, I think Baltimore is got to be 6.5 better on a neutral, maybe 7. Does it get through 7 here? Maybe slightly with the home field. So I'm going to call it Baltimore minus 7.5. Again, it's hard to, we only have a sample size of 1. So that's what we're going to go with. Baltimore minus 7.5 is the guess. The answer is Baltimore minus 9.5. Okay, off there. Seattle at New England. This is going to be some adjusting as well as New England pulls off the biggest upset of the week, an outright win over the Cincinnati Bengals. That was the biggest spread on the board. So I would say Seattle holds about serve here against Denver. They come back to win the game. Safety, kind of an ugly one. Thing is, New England was projected to be worse than Denver in the preseason. So I'm just going to take that line at first here, okay? Seattle was a 6.5 point favorite hosting Denver. Now it's at New England. So if I just say that Seattle's 6.5 points better than New England, we bring it to New England now, 2 points home field-ish. That gets you to Seattle minus 4-ish, 4.5. But I think we got to upgrade New England a point here for how they played. And New England as a home dog here, I think is going to be a trendy pick coming off the way that they played. I know that they got, fortunate of a bounce or fumble at the goal line from Cincinnati, but it is going to be interesting. New England as a home dog here after that win. The question is, what's the number? I think after that math, you got to upgrade New England a point. So instead of 4.5 at home, I think it's going to be 3.5. So the guess is Seattle minus 3.5 at New England. The answer is Seattle minus 3.5. That is good work right there. New Orleans at Dallas. This is 10 a.m. on Monday morning, by the way, as we run through this. So by the time you see it, these might move around a little bit. New Orleans throttles Carolina. Dallas does the same to Cleveland. Thing is, Cleveland was a 2.5 point favorite pretty much up until Dak signed on Sunday morning. So the books were taking a clear stance that Cleveland was a better team, probably by a point or so. Again, it went the other way after Dak, the news came out that Dak signed. So maybe that was kind of built into the whole thing. But what do you do here? I think Dallas is I'd say 3 points better than New Orleans on a neutral. I think you got to upgrade New Orleans the way that they played. That spread closed at 3.5. So exceeded expectations. Dallas does the same. So I'd say about 3.5 neutral. Yeah, both dome teams, so not a huge home field. I'm going to call it Dallas -4. Answer: Dallas -7. I think New Orleans is going to be a trendy pick here. I might be betting that myself. So, yeah, off there by 3 points. Let's go San Francisco at the Minnesota Vikings. We're using one game sample sizes for these teams. San Francisco, we haven't seen them yet because this is still Monday morning. Minnesota beats the Giants. I could say that had more to do with the Giants' lackluster performance. Very disappointing there. Let's just use the math here. Okay, so San Francisco's 4.5 point favorite hosting the Jets tonight. And so if we say that we think Minnesota's worse than the Jets. So let's call on a neutral here. San Francisco 6.5 better than Minnesota. And home field, though, Minnesota's got a pretty good home field. It's about 2 points. I'm going to call this, maybe we upgrade Minnesota a little bit as well here. So I'm going to call this Minnesota plus 5.5 at home hosting San Francisco. Answer: San Francisco -6.5. Okay, moving on. The LA Chargers at the Carolina Panthers. Carolina, brutal. Yeah, real ugly there. Sorry, I thought my mic went out. So what do we do here? Carolina was a 3.5 point dog at New Orleans. Now they're going to host the LA Chargers. It's going to be a 3. I'd say that the Chargers about 5.5 better. 5.5 better, 5. And then you get the home field, about a point and a half coming all the way east, the Chargers. I'm going to call this, I don't know, 3.5 point home dog. It seems like an overreaction to me, but Carolina was bad. Carolina was real bad. I'm going to call this Carolina plus 3.5 at home. Answer: Carolina plus 5.5. Really bad math there on my part. How about the Jets going to Tennessee? Tennessee, they had that game in the bag, man. 17-0 lead. The Bears don't score an offensive touchdown. So let's just do this math. The Bears were 4.5 point favorite hosting Tennessee. So you're telling me Tennessee was about power rated 3 points worse than the Bears. I think the Jets are better than the Bears. So maybe 3 points better than the Bears if the Jets played the Bears on a neutral field, 3.5. So if we add those two things up, and then you give Tennessee their home field, that's about 5.5 on a neutral. The Jets are better. So, but we haven't seen them play yet. I'm going to call this Jets -4.5 at Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee, it's hard to do with this score because they essentially played better than the Bears. You could argue until that awful Will Levis interception. So, answer: I got the Jets -4.5. Answer: Jets -4. Well done, Tim. Cleveland at Jacksonville. Jacksonville in the lead against Miami. They blow the lead. Cleveland, horrible. Deshaun Watson, he is getting absolutely pelted today after that performance. This is the Clemson Quarterback Bowl. Deshaun versus Trevor Lawrence. Jacksonville, you got to say, what's the adjustment here? I mean, Jacksonville played pretty well against Miami. Just kind of the wheels fell off at the end. Cleveland no-shows. I would say on a neutral field here that this thing would be about a pick 'em, in my opinion, because the books were making a clear stance that they thought Cleveland was better than Dallas, like I said. So, and then Jacksonville's going to get a home field here, about a point and a half. I'm going to call this Jacksonville -1.5. Answer: Jacksonville -3.5. So they're saying after week 1, Jacksonville is now clearly better than Cleveland. That was not the case in the preseason. I'm going to do a dive on this at the end of the video. I want to look up what this spread was supposed to be a couple of weeks ago because they were hanging a lot of these numbers before Sunday. Didn't see them. I don't look just for this video. I purposely lose at gambling to do better at this video. Moving on here, Tampa Bay at the Detroit Lions. Detroit wins in overtime over the LA Rams. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, quite the statement against Washington. I mean, if Detroit was about this thing got shot up though. It closed at like 5.5, but it was sitting around 3.5, 4, that Detroit Rams spread all week. So I do think Detroit's going to be a better team here, but the adjustment off of that is, I think Tampa Bay is pretty comparable to the Rams. So I would say in that 3.5, 4 range, just insert Tampa Bay for the Rams. Let's call it Detroit minus 3.5. Answer. Detroit minus 6. Okay. I might have to pause the video and go immediately bet Tampa Bay here. I think that is too many points. Let's go the Giants hosting the Washington Commanders. 2 teams that lose, 2 teams in the same division. What are you going to do here? I mean, this was pretty much a pick'em game, Giants Vikings in week 1. I think we're looking at a similar situation of just saying, what do we really do with these teams? Maybe Washington, or they do get there about point and a half. I'd say they're even teams. Give it a point for Washington. I'm going to call it Washington minus 1.5. All right. Answer. Washington minus 2.5. Yeah, I'd be shocked if this thing gets to 3. Could be wrong. Let's go LA Rams hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona gave Buffalo something to think about in that one. And the Rams, really, I would call that the most disappointing loss in terms of just stings. They played really well against Detroit. Lose the coin toss, don't get the ball. That's not the case in the playoffs. So the Rams, they are better than Arizona, power rating wise. I would say it's about a 1.5 or so. And then you get the home field. It's not much, for Arizona. They're actually a good home team. If you look at the last couple of years with Kyler Murray, I'm going to call this Rams minus 3. So Arizona 3-point home dog. Yeah, I guess it feels like a little bit of a cookie they're giving us, but I was pretty impressed with the Rams despite the loss. Let's go Rams minus 3. Answer. Rams minus 2.5. Yeah, looks like they're not giving us that 3 there. How about Cincinnati at Kansas City? Cincinnati loses to what's supposed to be the favorite to have the worst record of the NFL, the New England Patriots. That math changes now, I think. And then Kansas City wins by Isaiah Likely's toe over Baltimore week 1. Here's the thing. What kind of adjustment are we going to do here? Because Cincinnati has proven that they're with a healthy team, the one team that can go toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. At least in the playoffs, they've shown that they can do it. But yikes, that performance. I would say, so if we look, Kansas City was a 2.5-point favorite at home to Baltimore. Baltimore's better than Cincinnati, and we might have to downgrade Cincinnati a little bit too. So 1.5 through 3. Let's go Kansas City minus 4. Answer. Oh boy. Kansas City minus 6. All right. Pittsburgh at Denver. I mean, I don't know if this would be a really buy low Cincinnati spot if you like it. So Pittsburgh at Denver. Pittsburgh defense shows out at Atlanta. Denver, Bo Nix. I mean, I think I threw the ball further than Bo Nix. His average is average depth of pass, whatever it is. I did better than that in the driveway getting ready for the games than Bo Nix. Again, rookie quarterback, first start. It is what it is. How much do we overreact here? Because Denver has probably the best home field in football because of the altitude, especially early in the season, players out of shape. And they really, Pittsburgh's got to be a favorite here at Denver. It's really how much they make Pittsburgh a favorite. So I'd say they're about, 3 better than Denver on a neutral field. It's a good home field. I'm going to call it Pittsburgh minus 1 here. Pittsburgh minus 1 at Denver. Answer. Pittsburgh minus 3, going to give a full field goal to Denver at home. Again, these week 1s, guys. Week 1, you can't overreact, but it is. We got one game to use. How about Chicago going to Houston? Chicago comes back, but it wasn't really because of Caleb Williams. I guess you didn't make the big mistake that Will Levis did. Whew. And then Houston takes care of business. Sweaty one, but they do take care of business. No cover there at Indianapolis. So Houston here, if they were just 3 points, 3-point favorite at Indy, and now they're going to host Chicago here. You got to think Indy's better than Chicago by how much? So I would say about 3-4 better. No. More. They'd be. You got to judge Chicago as maybe a loss almost in that game to Tennessee. Just the way it went down, it really was Tennessee's undoing. So I'd say Houston's about a touchdown better than Chicago in a neutral 6.5. So I think it maybe goes through 7. Does it go through 7? Yeah, I'm gonna call it Houston minus 7.5. Answer. Houston minus 6.5. So wrong side of 7 for me, but I like my thinking. And we'll close it out. Monday Night Football will be Atlanta at Philly. So Philly was just 2.5 better than Green Bay on a neutral. I think that means they're certainly better than Atlanta at home. So let's add their home field, about 1.5. So that gets us to 3.5. And then I say they're 2 points better than Atlanta on a neutral, or add in, 2 points difference between Green Bay and Atlanta. So I get maybe to 6. I think it gets 5.5. Let's go Philly minus 5.5. Answer. Philly minus 6.5. There you have it. Week 6 gets the spread. I am going to go back and look at what the opening lines were for that, for the games I discussed. Let's go back here. Stay with me. Stay with me, people. Spread. Week 2. Okay, so let's go back. I want to look at Cincinnati and Kansas City. So, okay, that spread is 6. This was Kansas City minus 3.5 going into week 1. So before the two teams had played their week 1 games, it was going to be Kansas City minus 3.5. Now Kansas City minus 6. So big adjustment there. Let's look at some other key adjustments here. Houston was going to be a 3.5 point favorite hosting the Bears. They are now a 6.5 point favorite, as I said. Philly was going to be a 4 point favorite over Atlanta. That's now 6. That's right, 6.5. What are some other big movers here? The Ravens were going to be a 7. They opened 7.5 hosting the Las Vegas Raiders. That's now 9.5. And I hope I'm explaining this well. These lines are up pretty much a variety of places. The next week's lines are up. Again, I don't look at them because I want to do this video and do a good job. The Panthers, they were going to be a 3.5 point favorite 3.5 point dog hosting the Chargers. That's now 5.5, like we said. So those are some of the biggest movers here on the board. Week 2, enjoy. I guess I'll talk to you before then.